Call this July 1, 2013 meeting of Paducah Planning Commission to order, and I'll ask you all to please stand and recite with us the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Steve, call roll, please.
Benberry, Crecilius, Morrison, Schramke,
Here.
Shadle, Wade,
Here.
Chairman Manchester.
Here, I declare there's a quorum. Dave, you have the minutes motion.
I move that the reading of the minutes for June 17th, 2013 be waived and that the minutes of said meeting as prepared by the secretary be approved as written.
Second.
Second by Schramke. Any discussion, additions, or corrections? There being none, call roll, please.
Morrison,
Aye.
Schramke,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Chairman Manchester.
Aye. And you have the application for a zone change at 161 Pecan Court.
I move that this commission receive and file the application of the CHD Group, LLC, for the proposed re-subdivision and the front yard setbacks by replatted for property located at 6811, 6821, 6825, and 6829 Turnberry Drive. I further move that the requested approval be given and compliance with all other applicable provisions of the Paducah subdivision ordinance be waived.
Have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Morrison. Mr. Morrison, by the way, is our newest member. He was sworn in at noon today. And I assume I wasn't there, but I assume he pledged he hadn't fought any duels. And he's now a member, full-fledged member of this commission, and I welcome him. Steve, do you have any discussion before we vote on this?
No, and the client's representative is here if you have any questions of them.
Okay.
If you look at the plat, the first thing you see is we're abolishing one property line and moving it over to make room for the house that he just constructed on lot 17. The other, that changes the lot lines to 18 and 17, but we're also reducing the front yard setback from 30 to 25. So that's why it's including 4 lots on Turnberry. He needs that. If you look in the very back, there's a permanent drainage easement back there. The contours, the topography of the lots is pretty drastic going down to that drainage system. And he needs all the room he can get up on front just to be able to get a structure up there.
All right.
This is the waiver. This is the waiver of subdivision.
You mentioned drainage. We're doing this in connection to help a drainage issue.
No, the drainage is already there. The system's already in the back. They have a stormwater detention plan already in place for the Grove. And lots 19 and 20 butt up to that. So in the very back, it's impossible to build a structure on that. So he needs all the room he can up in the cul-de-sac. You can see you just have very little frontage to be able to face the houses out there. So reducing it from 30 to 25 doesn't sound like that much, but actually it does help him considerably. The houses are fairly large out there and fairly wide, so he needed that room. As you can see, the one that he's got built on lot 17 is, he wants to build basically the same type of structure on that.
Y'all have any questions?
seeing that. Where is that?
That's the last one.
This one. Okay. Got the wrong one. Remember? Wonder I didn't already start about. Okay.
I don't think we have any questions. Do you have any comment, Steve?
No, I guess the only thing that should be noted here is that when this subdivision was originally platted, it was platted in the county. That's why the actual reduction of the subdivision line is actually coming to the Planning Commission, because it was a plat restriction, I guess you would call it. Typically, a setback variance would go before the Board of Adjustment. In this case, it's not, because it was actually platted as part of the subdivision plat. That's why this type of issue is actually coming to you all tonight.
Okay. Call roll.
Yes, sir. Schramke,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Morrison,
Aye.
Chairman Manchester.
Aye. Bob, you have the Anderson request for a zone change.
I move that a resolution entitled, "A Resolution Constituting the Final Report of the Paducah Planning Commission on the Proposed Zoning Change from R1 Low Density Residential Zone to R4 High Density Residential Zone for property located at 161 Pecan Court be forwarded to the Paducah City Commission with a favorable recommendation."
Second.
Second by Schramke.
Would you like me to give a little overview from a staff perspective? Okay. The rezoning that we're discussing right now from R1 to R4 was actually initiated by the owner, Miss Anderson. The ophthalmology group, currently located at 1903 Broadway, is proposing on constructing a new medical office at this location. So it's one structure that's being proposed. The R4 residential zoning is adjacent to the subject property to the east. Professional offices are principally permitted use in the R4 zone. The medical office we're discussing is allowable as by right in the R4 zone. The office building is proposed to have ancillary food and retail services that are accessory to that principal structure. This is a zone map, shows the red outlined area. That is the low-density residential zone. Directly to the I believe the east of it, you'll see the R4 high-density zone along US Highway 60. Across the street is the West Kentucky Technical College. This is kind of a zooming out a little bit. You'll see a variety of land uses within the area. What's interesting here to note is the new Pecan Drive, how it comes up and ties in with Alvin Barkley. Right to the left of it, before you get to Alvin Barkley, is the Pecan Court, which used to be the old extension of Pecan Drive. So in effect, what is being proposed here is to rezone the area from the old Pecan Drive to the new Pecan Drive. This is the future land use map. It shows the majority of the property to be zoned as business park. You can see the Pecan Drive coming straight down, tying into Alvin Barkley. Right to the left of that, at the very bottom on Alvin Barkley, you see some purple. When the land use map was adopted in 2006, 2007, Pecan Drive was not as part of that mapping system. So as we'll see in a few minutes, our findings of fact as far as it relates to the future land use plan, and then also the findings of fact for some physical changes, that plays a big part of that. The majority of the proposed area to be rezoned is in compliance with the Paducah Comprehensive Land Use Plan, as you just saw, all but 1 acre. Additional findings of fact are needed per KRS 100.213 for an approximate acre shown as suburban to be rezoned to R4. And the reason for that is that one little corner along the new Pecan Drive does not show it on the future land use plan as being business park. Pursuant to KRS .213, the area has experienced changes of a physical and economic nature. This is staff opinion. Pecan Drive was realigned, creating an island. Also, there's many different businesses that have gone up since that period. The land use plan was done, including the Orthopedic Institute closer towards Paducah on US 62. Just some various things that have been constructed recently, including the Emerging Training Center across the street, the Baptist Rehabilitation Center. The R1 zoning, which is existing right now, allows single-family homes, duplexes, parks, playgrounds, and community centers, and also churches and schools, and that's by right. The R4 high-density zone allows churches, nursing homes, professional offices and uses, all residential uses, and daycares. So the proposed zoning of R4 is staying still within the residential scheme. We're not going up, or it's not being requested to go up to the B1 zone, which is the retail zone. The following information could be submitted. The future land use plan shows most of the property is business park. Location is optimal with access to the mall area and I-24. It's also along US 62, which is a major arterial. And that's my information that I'd like to forward to you, to the Planning Commission. The representative, there is a representative here that's requesting the zone change if you have further questions.
Y'all have any questions for Steve before we open it up for the hearing? I mean, this is part of the hearing, but before we have comments concerning the rezoning of this area. Philip, are you making the presentation or somebody else?
Bob, although I don't really have much more to add than what Steve's already alluded to, I'm here on behalf of Ms. Anderson and the orthopedic group. I'm sorry.
Would you pull that mic,
Uh,
would you pull that mic over to you a little?
I'm
Thank you.
sorry. I'm here on behalf of Marlena Anderson and the ophthalmology group. Really, other than what Steve's already informed you of, the only thing I would add is that this is actually a building that the ophthalmology group wants built to be able to occupy themselves. They've been at the 1903 Broadway address for over 50 years. They've added, they've expanded, they've outgrown it. They need to move. And this is a good location for them. They're looking to just build a one-story structure, not talking about a four-story building. They're going to have their normal office hours, which is going to be from typical office hours are 8 to 5. Really, other than that, I don't really have anything to add.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How large of an area of ground is that?
It's 7 acres total. 6 acres falls within the business park designation that was listed on the comprehensive plan. And then we had 1 acre that didn't lie already within the business park designation on the comprehensive plan. And that's the 1 acre that's in essence become a part of this 6 acres because of the relocation of Pecan Drive. And when they cut it, moved it around, it made this 1 acre really an integral part of the overall property. So the change of it is the physical change and the economic change that makes this appropriate for an R4.
So Steve, what we would be considering is the zone change, not the actual facility that's sitting on it. In other words, we wouldn't be considering ingress, egress, size, all that sort of thing. Tonight is strictly a zone change.
The city of Paducah, we have plan certain, is what it's referred to in the zoning ordinance, and that means that the applicant is required to submit a development plan for review by the Planning Commission as part of that zone change.
Okay, so it would include all of the things that I referred to, the ingress and egress and,
Those things can be looked at. Certainly after the zone change, the final development plan, final site plan, as well as all the civil information, stormwater, will have to be submitted to the engineering department and planning department for review and compliance with zoning
where
regulations.
would the ingress and egress be? Would it be from Alvin Barkley or from Pecan or from the old Pecan?
It would be from Pecan and Old Pecan, but primarily in terms of patient care, it would be from Pecan. The stretch of road along 62 where the property is to the light was probably a little short to allow for a safe access there.
That was
we-
my concern.
We think the smarter access is on Pecan because you've already got a stoplight there. Traffic will be moving slower. There's a much longer stretch of property line there so that we should be able to get access in and out without having any real risk.
And would the new road be conducive to this? Because I know that it's just actually a one lane at that spot because of the turning lane. So there would not be an issue with the
Well, I
type
don't-
of road?
I don't think so. Is that something that you discussed? I've got Dave Hoffman with me. He's with the Erdman Company. They're the company who's designed the development plan. They're also, you're familiar with the Southern Orthopedic Institute that's down the street. They designed and constructed that. They're the ones that developed the developmental plan that you've got before you. So let Mr. Hoffman respond to that
Okay.
question.
As far as traffic and access off of Pecan,
Would you step to the microphone so we can hear you a little better?
thank you. Because of the nature of patient scheduling throughout the day, I don't really anticipate a lot of volume of traffic all at the same time accessing the facility. Really, what you have are patients arriving and leaving throughout the day so that there isn't a large volume of traffic at any one time. So I think Pecan works very well in terms of access for the facility.
And your position, sir? I'm sorry.
My background is an architect, design professional, work primarily on medical facilities.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. How far is it from the entrance off of Pecan relocated from the stoplight?
It's, I think, by my sophisticated measuring method here, I would say it's just under 400 feet.
Okay.
So it actually goes past Colonial Drive.
Correct.
Left.
Right. Where we're showing the access now is about, I would say it's about 80 feet beyond Colonial. Correct.
To the west?
Well, it would be more north.
North.
North, yeah.
Yeah. And this will be approximately 41,000 square feet that's going to be built on this site. Is that correct?
It would be about 30,000 feet.
And I notice that part of it will be underground.
Right. The site does slope quite a bit from the top down to the bottom, so it really lends itself to having an exposed lower level where we're kind of anticipating some of the staff functions will happen. Patient functions would all be on that first floor.
So the footprint's not going to be 40,000 square feet, it'll be 30,000 maybe?
30,000 feet, right.
And traffic on Pecan Court is just for staff and facility operators,
Correct.
doctors.
The parking is separated. The upper portion of the parking is for patients near the main entrance. The lower portion is for staff, and that would be accessed off of Pecan Court.
Pecan Court is not a through street.
Cul-de-sac, yeah.
It was closed.
A portion of it. Now there's a cul-de-sac at the end.
But it was left open up to the point where it was closed because they're residential.
Yes, and I believe there's also a small strip center or commercial complex at the end of Pecan Court.
Right. You have any further questions at this point? Thank you very much. Anybody else would like to, this is a public hearing. Anybody would like to speak? Yes, sir? Would you come up here, please, to the,
First of all, I guess I don't hear very well. This is kind of a low tone
makes two of
meeting,
us.
and one or two things I would like to have is hard copy of everything that's happened here tonight, plus a copy of this zone application. I own property, my wife and myself, directly to the west across from this new facility, this proposed zone change.
Your name, please.
Ernest James Perdue, Jr.
Yes, Ernest. Mr.
To-
Perdue.
To the north of Mrs. Anderson's, we own a considerable amount of property. In fact, across from Lindbergh Court, between it and Hill Terrace. Okay, the thing about it is, it's talking about this, that entrance on the new Pecan Drive. First off, the city took a bigger part of 4 lots from us to build Pecan Drive. I still have about 4 plus a part of the 5th lot, adjacent to the west across from this new facility. They're talking about putting that entrance 400 feet from that stoplight. That street has already become a racetrack. If anybody's been out there, it handles a lot of traffic. Of course, at this particular point, I'm neither saying I'm for or against it to do this, except for the fact that I don't have enough information from this meeting at this point to say I do or I don't approve. Now, what can I get to do so?
By law, we were required to post, the planning and zoning is required to post, as you probably saw, a sign on this lot.
Yes,
And
I
saw it in the paper and
And
they
we
gave you
received a
notice.
letter from the planning commission.
We'll make available to you. I don't know if we have extra copies, but it's been available for 2-3 weeks at least.
Sure, I'd be happy to
And
submit a
It's
copy.
right over here, Mr. Perdue, right behind you as you go out. It's far corner. And
It's
it'll be
available
there,
tonight?
it'll be there for you to look at it tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, okay, fine.
Thank you. Anything else?
Well, again, like I say, this, at what particular time, if I propose to object to this, what,
Right now is the time for you to tell us what you feel.
pardon?
Right now is the time, this is a public hearing, for you to express your views about the proposed rezoning.
Well, like I say, basically speaking, I object to it. I don't, it was R1. Of course, I first don't know what R1 to R4 actually means until what you're saying, on R1, you can build single family and duplex, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and R4, you can build medical, food facilities, gas, that sort
No,
of thing?
no, sir.
Pardon?
Professional offices only.
Professional offices
Yes,
only?
retail and those types of uses are not allowed until you get into the business zones. This is not being proposed as a business zone.
Okay,
It's being proposed as a high-density residential zone that allows professional offices. And when we say professional, it's a recognized profession, a doctor's office, those types of things.
okay, well, like I say, I know there's some offices down, like say, on the short section of Pecan Drive when they close that.
Yes.
And that's dead end, it just goes down about a half a block. And then they've made a cul-de-sac coming back from Old Pecan. And then, of course, when they built New Pecan, I had 8 lots in there they just cut through, as well as Mrs. Anderson, or Mr. Anderson at that time, cut through his. We resolved that was for the good of the public and, did accept that situation. However, it really didn't do me that much good for the lots that I have. The only thing that I can say that at this point, just in realistic terms, I don't see any other neighbors here, Mr. Titsworth or any of those up here tonight to object to it. But I think the entrance to this on the new Pecan Drive is not a good, but that's probably not within my position to say I care one way or the other. But I think it should come under review that anything close to that intersection is going to do nothing but bottleneck traffic and create a serious accident problem Like I say, Pecan Drive went from probably 100 cars in an hour to probably 1,000 cars in an hour.
There's been an increase, I know that for sure.
Well, it definitely has.
Heck, the stoplight affects me
I
when
mow
I go.
property between Hill Terrace and Lindbergh Court quite often, and there's just a constant stream of traffic coming there. So any additional entrances on that highway are not that practical. Anyway,
Let me ask you a very simple question.
sure.
And that's all I'm doing is asking your opinion.
Okay.
You think it's better that the entrance, one of the two entrances to the property, would be better to be on Pecan and Pecan Court than on Blandville Road?
Do I think it would be better?
Yes.
Well, you have a turn lane on the main highway that you don't have quite that much. When they come up to the traffic signal on Pecan Drive, you do have a lane to pull over to make a turn, and it's what you might call a safety lane, but people start using that about a half a mile back. So it's just, like I say, this thing is visual. You'd have to be there. It's not a good condition. Of course, we're getting a world full of people, and there's a lot of us, and we got to go with progress, I suppose, to a point. But I do think it should be reviewed very carefully before a decision is made. As far as, like I say, I'm not really that much against the facility as I am the repercussions from it. And again, like I say, of course, I still have some lots across the street that really I can't do much with. The highway didn't do me a bit of good on those lots. They raised the elevation of the new Pecan, put my lots kind of in a hole, but that's neither here nor there. I'm still talking about the long range for the good of all.
Thank you.
I have
That's
a,
probably pretty much it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you gentlemen's time. You ladies.
I have a suggestion, if I may.
No, let's ask for somebody else and we'll
Yes, sir.
take your comment. Anybody else? Yes. Mr. Vice.
I wanted to comment on his, about the turning in. Me and my wife, we live at 216 Colonial. We pull in the middle lane there to take a left to turn into our street, and the people are coming up to that traffic light, and they're getting in our lane to take a left out on Alvin Barkley. So we're almost hitting head on there.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So is it in concrete that we couldn't get into this facility through Pecan Court, where you could actually use that as turning into this instead of the new Pecan Road? Because the Pecan Road, like he said back there, it is really heavy traffic.
My thought on that is, think about the traffic that is on Alvin Barkley going toward Paducah. How are they're going to make a left with no light or anything to be able to turn on to Pecan Court?
Well, they would have just left us traffic light right there at Pecan, see?
But
They'd
if
just
the light
pass
is
that, and then
green-
they've got to turn, they would turn right to the left there going in this facility, which there's already an office building there.
Because you're on a main highway and you're making a left into a big facility without any kind of directional signals or
Well-
anything. I don't know if this,
Well, there's a turn lane there already on that street. There's a turn lane there.
I'm talking if you're on Alvin Barkley,
Right, that's what I'm talking.
you're going toward Paducah.
Right,
You pass the light,
right,
it's green,
right.
just gone through the light, and 500 feet farther down, you're going to make a left.
You're gonna make a left there.
Mm,
Yeah, you're gonna make a left because in this situation he's talking over on Pecan, you've got a turn lane going left there. If you're coming out of Paducah the way you're talking on Alvin Barkley, nobody's turning left there. There is no left turn. There's nowhere to turn left to. There's no businesses to access that.
I don't know. I don't know which would be better. I was just trying.
Well, I don't either. I'm just trying to get traffic off of strictly a residential neighborhood, which is Pecan now, and keep the traffic flowing over on the business neighborhood, what I call, you say it's not business, it's R4, but it's heavier traffic and it's more in the business community, professional community there on that street. That's my point of view of it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am, come to the microphone.
I'm Janice Coward, and I live around on Pecan, where there are more houses, really, I think. But I am a builder's daughter, so I just think these ways about how things are built, entrances, exits, that kind of thing. And we've lived here 40 years. And of course, you know, we've already had a setback with what I call the racetrack to the mall. We lived there on a nice little country road that was so quaint and not very much traffic. Only saw one little accident where some cars just kind of hit the side and people said, oh, it's dangerous. It was never dangerous, but anyway, that's beside the point. I was wondering too why it wouldn't be better to have the entrance off Pecan Court. I have gone there to the dentist a lot. I turn out at the light. You just get in the turning lane. Nobody's coming to the light in that lane to turn. It's very easy to go to the office buildings that are on Pecan Court. To me, that would be much better. I can see that racetrack to the mall. The traffic is just getting worse and worse. Nobody wants to drive the 35 that the city told us that's what we would keep it at, 35. So I'm just here to say an opinion as a resident. The other thing, I really hate to see a zone change because I can see it creeping on down the road. So that was the reason I wanted to come tonight, to let you know. I've talked to all of my neighbors. I mean, we're ready to form a neighborhood group. They're all with me. That's my opinion, and I'm hoping that it would be a better thing for the entrance to be on Pecan Court.
Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll ask you this question later. But the stoplight was put where it is because of the crest of the hill on Lample Road. Is that correct?
I believe
I'm not going to want you to answer it now. I'm just asking you. My recollection is correct. Anybody else would like to make a statement or comment?
I think the stoplight was put there because they wanted to go through the college to Lonoke and bring what I call Falconite Drive on around to the mall. It's sure dangerous.
Anyone else? Steve? Can you answer the question I asked?
I believe that was based upon traffic generation at the time because the actual stoplight went in sometime after Pecan Drive was relocated.
What is the latest, and I'm sure the people have studied it in making this development, what is the traffic count now on both Blamble and Pecan relocated?
I do not have those numbers, sir.
You remember the last time it was done?
It's done periodically by the state, District Highway 1 office, and I don't have an exact number for you.
Any numbers?
I'd like to interject the fact that Highway 62 is a 4-lane with a turn lane in it. New Pecan Drive is only a 2-lane turn lane.
Until you get to the stoplight on Blamble Road 62. Y'all have any questions or comments before Steve gives us answer to things that come up to him?
Steve, is this a yes or no issue? I mean, it looks like this traffic turning thing is what the biggest concern. I mean, we've got a lot of issues with the whole thing. I mean, it's a big building. It's changing. It's a zone change. So therefore, if the planning commission would say yes, then it sticks as it is with the
No,
Yes?
and that's what I was going to say or discuss. I think at this point, what you could say is yes, and then instruct staff, including the city engineer, to sit down with the engineers that are representing the client and work out what is the best and safest
I like
access
that.
points into this development. And that can happen through the final site development process. That's typical the way development happens in the city anyway.
I'd hate to, for us to
Address it.
not have something that can be discussed and ironed out. And,
Certainly
A
can.
yes or no thing would be a real difficult thing right now for me without that option.
Absolutely.
We are voting on the change to high-density residential zone R4, not the development plan at this time. But they are required to give us a development plan at the time they file their application. Is that correct?
That's correct, and actually they have to build what's on here primarily, not the access points. In the zoning ordinance, it says it really doesn't go into the access as much as the size of the structure. For instance, they can't exceed the size of the structure they're showing by more than 10% without actually coming back to you all.
Do we need to have our motion amended, or will it just be a note that we request city engineer and planning department to look at this further? I mean, what do we
You
need?
can certainly amend the motion to reflect that request, I think. Or instructing me to do this.
What do you think?
You want to do that?
I do want to do that.
There? Okay,
Would you-
I'll entertain a motion that prior to the adoption of ingress and egress to these two, from these 2 points shown on the development plan, that would be made available to the commission for further review as to that part of the plan, and not just automatically reviewed by engineering and planning and zoning staff. Is that what you intend?
Exactly.
Well, I'm not sure I understand that as it fits into the normal process now. My understanding, Steve, is our scope right now is the zoning, and then from there, it goes into the engineering and all the other factors that are then used to develop what's brought back into us for the development plan.
No, the final development plan is reviewed by staff only, and that is planning and engineering. So really, the zone change happens here tonight, it goes to the city commission. The applicant is required to schematically locate where their proposed entrances are, their general location of their stormwater detention, general location of buildings, kind of tie it down a little bit.
So then what Bob's discussing allows us to approve this with the noted concerns for staff to take in their purview.
There's two ways of doing this. One that Bob has mentioned is that we work with the client, come back and get your all's approval on the entrances. The way that I had first mentioned is instructing staff to engineering to work with the engineers like we do our typical site development process.
And that's what I
Yes.
thought would happen. I didn't know why we needed to do this, that Bob's proposing.
I'm not proposing. Ms. Shramke's proposing.
What I would like to see is it not get lost in the shuffle. I want to see that should this be approved by us, that it's also noted someplace that it's approved with concerns regarding ingress and egress location. So rather than us just saying, yeah, just go ahead and look at that, I want it included some way. And my suggestion was, and Bob and I were talking, that it be inclusive in the proposed amendment, proposed change. And if that's not the proper way to note it, but I don't know, it seems to me like it would be. Am I correct, Steve?
That would be my recommendation.
Okay. So would you like to write how I'm supposed to propose that? So that we're all
I'm gonna try to narrow it
understand?
down for you.
One of you guys.
I'm sure these proposals for ingress and egress considered by the applicant, the person who's going to develop it, their architect, their attorney. I don't know, I can ask the question, I assume, not to digress, that there are certain standards that where a entrance to a professional building can be placed on a road that has high volume traffic. But I think that's something probably could be worked out better than we could at this particular point. So I will interpret your motion, Lorraine, to be that you recommend that you remove that before the development plan is approved by staff and engineering, that we have a chance to review it. Is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
I have a second to the motion.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Morrison. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend prior to our vote? I have a second to the motion. Lorraine's
I
motion.
made the motion.
Oh, okay, second by Morrison. Any further discussion? Do you understand what we're voting on? Call a roll on the motion to amend.
Schramke,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Morrison,
Aye.
Chairman Manchester.
Aye. Now on the main motion, Steve, we have two ways to go on this. One to make specific findings, and one for us to find simply that this proposed amendment of the zone from R1 to R4 is within the comprehensive plan intent and meaning? Or do you want specific findings on?
There are some draft findings as part of the resolution that I presented as part of my presentation.
The resolution has some findings that state, and I recite them at this time so y'all be familiar with them, is that the existing zoning is inappropriate and R4 high-density residential is appropriate due to the surrounding commercial land uses and the proximity of a major arterial in the vicinity, that's Alvin Barkley Drive, and that the medical facility proposed is a permitted use in R4 zone, and that there will be food service and retail service for contacts, eye contacts, and eyeglasses on the premises. And the future land use map of the city reflects the whole area to be zoned business park. And the changes have occurred of a physical and economic nature in the vicinity, and we're talking about the development not only of the area across the road to the east, which is the community college and technical school, and other development of medical facilities further to the west. And that there has been a major change of a medical use in the nature of property, which is the Orthopedic Institute to the north. And that those facts, I think, would be sufficient as included in the resolution. If that be what you all think the facts state that we've heard here tonight. Do you have any additional facts or opinions that would lead to facts?
Just to be clear, the retail, or we're talking maybe like a boutique or a flower shop or
Coffee shop or something
coffee
inside.
shop.
That's
within
correct.
the medical facility.
The representatives are here if there's any.
That's correct. We're talking about, selling contact lenses, eyeglasses, things to hold your glasses on your head, those types of things. And then maybe a very small coffee shop, just to serve the patients themselves.
Okay.
We're not talking about a national chain to have people come in and, attract a retail business.
Right.
Solely within the confines of the medical facility itself.
Thank you.
Well, and I think your question was, would there be another building? I think what we're looking at is the building.
That's it.
I don't think there can be another one added once this is approved. So.
Wouldn't be
the
allowed.
basics of what this will be are here.
It wouldn't be allowed without your approval.
So an aye vote would include those findings, the fact that I've discussed with you. If you want to look at them specifically, here they are. And the only caveat is that we're amending the motion that after staff and engineering review, that they would be
Okay.
allowed to
Some
look
of
at.
these people can't hear you, Bob. They're straining.
I'm sorry. This doesn't pick up everything that's said, thank goodness. The proposal as made is that we can't summarily change a zone from one to another unless there is a basis for it. And the facts I know I've heard, are in existence and would become our recommendation to the city commission to change this from R1 to R4 based upon those facts and taking into fact that there are surrounding or close by residential areas that have had their lives convoluted by the substantial increase in the traffic along Pecan. Anything y'all want to discuss or
Clarify that if we should get approved, That the ingress egress will be reviewed.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say, as we have asked for that.
My comment, if you didn't hear it, was that if approved, the ingress egress issue would be addressed by engineering, planning, the people that look into this type of thing all the time and are knowledgeable.
So just make sure I understand, sir. If approved, this would go on to the city commission. After the final development plan is submitted for planning and engineering review, through that conversations with representatives of engineering and our staff in engineering and planning, once we came to a consensus for what we thought was best for that area, at that time I'd bring that back to the planning commission before that final development plan was approved for you all to review and accept.
That would be what I would like.
Okay.
Is that what you're thinking, Rob, or not? Yeah. Okay. David?
This isn't easy for us. I hope you all understand that. I live in that neighborhood. Not close to any of you, but in that neighborhood, because I use Colonial Drive and Pecan and Springwell and Oak Crest on a regular basis as I go to and from work. So I'm very aware of it. That doesn't make our decision my decision any easier, because I'm aware of the changes that have made the difference of where we're all affected by it, not just us, but other people immediately around this area. If this was a decision that we had to make, considering that this was an R2 or an R3, and the development of housing, condos, whatever, on the area, with multiple entrances, not only on or off of Pecan Court or Pecan Drive. I don't know what entrance could be on Blandville Road to this property. I don't know if it would be possible, particularly because it'd have to go up a hill to get to it. But all those things will be taken into consideration when it's reviewed. And an affirmative vote means we believe these changes have taken place, and we would recommend to the commission, if you so desire, then vote aye, and if not, we'll vote no. Call the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Wade,
Aye.
Morrison,
Aye.
Schramke,
Aye.
Chairman Manchester.
Aye. That means we have an affirmative recommendation of the city commission to allow this property to be rezoned from R1 to R4. And I thank you all for being here and let us know your feelings. Thank you. Any other business, Steve?
No, sir, that is it.
Glad to have you with us, Dave. We stand adjourned.